Mountains are among the most recognizable features of the Earth's surface. Rising high above surrounding land, they shape landscapes, influence weather, guide rivers, and inspire people who live near them or travel to see them. Across every continent, mountains stand as natural landmarks that can be seen from great distances. Their slopes and peaks often become symbols of entire regions, appearing in art, stories, and traditions that have been shared for generations. A mountain is generally defined as a landform that rises prominently above its surrounding terrain. While there is no single worldwide rule that separates a mountain from a hill, many geographers consider landforms taller than about 600 meters, or roughly 2,000 feet, to be mountains. Some mountains rise far higher than that. The tallest peaks reach heights of more than 8,000 meters above sea level, standing so high that their upper slopes remain cold and windy throughout the year. Mountains form in many different shapes. Some have sharp, jagged peaks that appear like stone towers reaching toward the sky. Others rise more gently, with rounded ridges and broad slopes. In some places, mountains stand alone as single peaks rising from the land around them. In other regions, they appear in long connected chains called mountain ranges. These ranges can stretch across hundreds or even thousands of kilometers, forming some of the most impressive landscapes on Earth. One of the most well-known mountain ranges is the Himalayan range in Asia. This immense chain extends across several countries, including Nepal, India, Bhutan, Pakistan, and China. Within the Himalayas stands Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on Earth when measured above sea level. Everest rises to a height of 8,848 meters, or about 29,031 feet. From its base to its summit, Everest represents an enormous vertical journey through different environments and conditions. Other famous mountain ranges appear on every continent. In South America, the Andes Mountains form the longest continental mountain range in the world, stretching more than 7,000 kilometers along the western edge of the continent. In North America, the Rocky Mountains extend from Canada through the United States, creating a vast region of forests, valleys, and high peaks. Europe is home to the Alps, known for their dramatic scenery and historic mountain villages. Mountains also shape the movement of water across the land. Many of the world's largest rivers begin high in mountain regions where snow and ice slowly melt and flow downhill. Streams form from this melting water and join together to create rivers that travel across plains and valleys far below. Because of this, mountains are sometimes called the water towers of the world, quietly supplying fresh water to millions of people and countless ecosystems. The climates of mountain regions often change dramatically with elevation. At lower slopes, forests may grow thick with trees and plants. Higher up, the air becomes cooler and thinner. Trees may grow smaller and eventually disappear, replaced by grasses and hardy alpine plants that can survive in colder conditions. Near the highest summits, bare rock, snow, and ice may dominate the landscape. Despite the challenges of living at high altitudes, many animals make their homes in mountain environments. Species such as mountain goats, snow leopards, llamas, and marmots are well adapted to steep terrain and cooler temperatures. Birds of prey often glide along mountain ridges, using rising air currents to soar effortlessly across the slopes. Humans have also lived in mountain regions for thousands of years. Mountain communities often develop unique cultures shaped by the landscapes around them. Traditional houses may be built from stone or wood gathered locally. Farming methods sometimes involve terraced fields carved into hillsides, allowing crops to grow on steep slopes where flat land is scarce. For travelers and explorers, mountains have long held a special attraction. Climbing a mountain can be both physically demanding and deeply rewarding. Reaching a summit often provides a sweeping view of valleys, forests, rivers, and distant peaks stretching far beyond the horizon. Many climbers describe a sense of quiet accomplishment when standing at the top of a mountain after a long journey upward. Throughout history, mountains have also played important roles in culture and storytelling. In many traditions, mountains are seen as places of reflection, strength, or spiritual significance. Ancient temples, monasteries, and shrines have often been built high on mountain slopes, where the surroundings are peaceful and removed from busy cities. Some mountains become famous not only for their height, but also for their shape. Mount Fuji in Japan is known for its nearly symmetrical cone rising above the surrounding countryside. The Matterhorn, located on the border between Switzerland and Italy, is recognized by its steep pyramid shape. These mountains appear in paintings, photographs, and travel stories shared around the world. Mountain landscapes are also constantly changing, although the changes usually occur slowly over long periods of time. Wind, water, and ice gradually shape mountain slopes. Small pieces of rock break away and travel downhill through streams or landslides. Over centuries and millennia, these natural processes can reshape entire valleys and ridges. Many national parks and protected areas have been established to preserve mountain environments. These parks allow people to experience the beauty of mountains while protecting wildlife and natural landscapes. Visitors may hike along trails, watch wildlife, or simply enjoy the peaceful atmosphere found in high places. As the sun rises and sets over mountain ranges, light and shadow move slowly across the slopes. Early morning light may reveal mist drifting through valleys, while evening sunlight often paints peaks in warm colors of gold and orange. These quiet daily changes give mountains a timeless quality that many people find calming and inspiring. In the stillness of night, mountain regions often reveal clear skies filled with stars. Because many mountains are far from large cities, the night sky can appear especially bright. Constellations stretch across the darkness, and the Milky Way sometimes appears as a faint band of light overhead. Mountains remind us of the vast scale of the natural world. Standing beside a towering peak can make even the largest human structures seem small. Yet mountains also invite curiosity and exploration. Trails wind upward through forests and meadows, leading travelers step by step toward higher viewpoints and new perspectives. For centuries, artists, writers, and explorers have described the quiet power of mountains. Their presence is steady and enduring. Storms may pass, seasons may change, and generations of people may come and go. Yet the mountains remain, Even from far away, the outline of distant peaks can bring a sense of calm and wonder. Their silent ridges stretch across the horizon, reminding us that the Earth holds landscapes both vast and beautiful. And in many places around the world, as evening settles and the wind moves gently along the slopes, mountains stand quietly beneath the stars, just as they have for countless years. Mountains may appear still and unchanging when viewed from a distance, yet their existence is the result of powerful natural forces that shape the surface of the Earth over long periods of time. The formation of mountains is a slow and gradual process that unfolds over millions of years through steady pressure, movement, and uplift. Sections of the Earth's crust rise upward to form the high landscapes we recognize as mountain ranges. The outer surface of the Earth is called the crust. This crust is not one solid shell, but is instead divided into many enormous pieces known as tectonic plates. These plates slowly move across the surface of the planet, shifting only a few centimeters each year. Although this movement is very slow, the forces involved are immense because each plate is thousands of kilometers wide and many kilometers thick. When tectonic plates move toward one another, the edges of the plates can press together with tremendous pressure. In some places, the crust crumples and folds, pushing upward to create long chains of mountains. These are known as fold mountains because layers of rock bend and fold as they are forced upward. The Himalayan mountains are a famous example of fold mountains formed by the slow collision of massive plates. Another way mountains form is through volcanic activity. Deep beneath the surface of the Earth, molten rock called magma can rise toward the surface. When this magma reaches an opening in the crust, it erupts as lava, ash, and gases. Over time, repeated eruptions can build up layers of hardened lava and volcanic material, gradually creating a volcanic mountain. Some volcanic mountains grow to remarkable heights. One well-known example is Mount Fuji in Japan. This mountain has a graceful cone shape created by many layers of lava flows that have built up over thousands of years. Another famous volcanic mountain is Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, which rises as the highest peak in Africa. A third type of mountain forms when large blocks of the Earth's crust move along faults. A fault is a crack or fracture in the crust, where rock on either side can shift up or down. When one block of land is pushed upward relative to the surrounding terrain, a block mountain can form. These mountains often have steep sides and broad tops. The Sierra Nevada range in the western United States is an example of mountains shaped partly by faulting and uplift. Over long periods, the land on one side of a fault may slowly rise, while the land on the other side remains lower. The result can be a dramatic mountain front that appears to rise sharply from nearby valleys. Although mountains are created by powerful forces beneath the surface, their visible shapes are also influenced by processes happening above the ground. Wind, rain, rivers, and ice gradually wear away rock in a process called erosion. Erosion slowly reshapes mountain slopes, carving valleys and carrying loose material downhill. Water is one of the most important agents of erosion in mountain environments. Rainwater and melting snow flow down slopes in small streams. These streams gather into larger rivers that cut deeper channels into the land. Over time, river valleys may widen and deepen, creating the dramatic landscapes often seen in mountain regions. In colder climates, glaciers play a major role in shaping mountains. A glacier is a slow-moving mass of ice formed from compacted snow. As glaciers move downhill under their own weight, they scrape against the rock beneath them. This movement can carve wide valleys with steep sides and smooth floors. Glacial valleys often have a distinctive U-shaped appearance, unlike the V-shaped valleys formed mainly by rivers. Some of the most scenic mountain valleys in the world were shaped by glaciers during earlier periods, when ice covered large parts of high mountain regions. As mountains rise and erode, loose rocks and soil frequently travel down slopes through landslides and rockfalls. Gravity pulls this material downhill, sometimes slowly and sometimes very suddenly. Over many years, these movements help carry rock from high elevations to lower ground. Despite the forces of erosion, mountain building can continue for extremely long periods. In some places, the upward pressure from tectonic movements raises land faster than erosion can wear it down. This balance between uplift and erosion helps determine the overall height and shape of mountain ranges. Different mountain ranges around the world form during different geological periods. Some are relatively young in geological terms, meaning they rose within the past few tens of millions of years. These younger mountains often have sharp peaks and steep ridges because erosion has had less time to smooth their shapes. Older mountain ranges, on the other hand, may appear more rounded and gentle. Over hundreds of millions of years, wind and water gradually soften the jagged features of younger mountains. The Appalachian Mountains in eastern North America are an example of an ancient range that has been worn down over vast stretches of time. Mountain formation does not occur everywhere on Earth. It tends to happen most often near the edges of tectonic plates, where movement and pressure are greatest. These regions form belts of mountain building that stretch across continents and oceans. One of the most prominent of these belts surrounds much of the Pacific Ocean. Known as the Pacific Ring of Fire, this region contains many active volcanoes and numerous mountain ranges. The Andes Mountains along the western side of South America are part of this larger system of geological activity. While many mountains form in long connected chains, others stand alone. These isolated peaks may be the remains of older mountain systems or volcanic structures that formed separately from nearby ranges. Their solitary appearance can make them especially striking when rising above plains or deserts. Over long spans of time, mountains may also slowly sink or rise as the crust adjusts to changing pressures. This process is sometimes compared to the way a wooden board floats on water, rising or lowering depending on the weight placed upon it. The Earth's crust behaves in a somewhat similar way, slowly adjusting to forces within the planet. Because the processes that create mountains occur so gradually, a single human lifetime rarely sees noticeable changes in their height or shape. Yet scientists can measure slow movements using instruments that track shifts in the Earth's surface with remarkable precision. These measurements reveal that the land beneath our feet is always moving, even if the changes are too slow to notice directly. Mountains therefore represent both stability and motion at the same time. They appear solid and permanent when viewed from a distance, yet their formation is part of a long and ongoing story written across the surface of the earth. When we look at a mountain peak rising above a valley, we are seeing the result of forces that have worked patiently for millions of years. Each ridge and summit tells a quiet story of pressure, uplift, and erosion, shaping the land little by little. And while these processes continue slowly beneath the surface, mountains remain among the most enduring and awe-inspiring features of the natural world. Across the continents of the earth, mountains rarely appear alone. Instead, they often gather together in long chains known as mountain ranges. These ranges can stretch across entire regions, forming natural boundaries, shaping weather patterns, and creating some of the most dramatic landscapes on the planet. Many of the world's most famous mountains belong to these vast connected systems of peaks and ridges. One of the most remarkable mountain systems on Earth is the Himalayan range in Asia. The Himalayas extend for about 2,400 kilometers, forming a sweeping arc across countries including India, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, and China. Within this immense range stand many of the highest mountains on Earth. Mount Everest, the tallest peak, rises to 8,848 meters above sea level. Nearby stand several other peaks that also rise above 8,000 meters, including K2, Kangchenjunga, Lhotse, and Makalu. The name Himalaya comes from ancient words meaning abode of snow. This name reflects the snowy peaks that remain white throughout much of the year. In many places, glaciers flow slowly down the slopes, feeding rivers that travel far into the lowlands of Asia. Rivers such as the Ganges, the Indus, and the Brahmaputra all begin in the high mountain regions of the Himalayas. Far to the west of the Himalayas lies another impressive mountain system known as the Karakoram Range. This region contains some of the steepest and most rugged mountains in the world. Among them stands K2, which rises to 8,611 meters above sea level. K2 is the second highest mountain on Earth and is known for its steep slopes and challenging climbing conditions. In South America, the Andes Mountains form the longest continental mountain range in the world. The Andes stretch for more than 7,000 kilometers along the western edge of the continent, passing through countries including Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. Throughout this vast distance, the Andes contain towering peaks, high plateaus, deep valleys, and numerous volcanoes. The highest peak in the Andes is Aconcagua, located in Argentina. Aconcagua rises to about 6,961 meters above sea level, making it the tallest mountain outside of Asia. Climbers from around the world travel to the Andes to attempt the ascent of this remarkable peak. Within the Andes lies a region called the Altiplano, a high plateau that sits more than 3,500 meters above sea level. This plateau contains several large lakes, including Lake Titicaca, which lies on the border between Peru and Bolivia. The Altiplano is one of the highest large inhabited regions on Earth. North America is home to several major mountain ranges, including the Rocky Mountains. Often called simply the Rockies, this range extends for about 4,800 kilometers from northern Canada through the western United States. The Rocky Mountains include hundreds of peaks, many rising above 4,000 meters. These mountains are known for their rugged beauty, alpine lakes, and dense forests. Another major North American range is the Sierra Nevada, located primarily in the state of California. The Sierra Nevada includes Mount Whitney, the highest peak in the contiguous United States, rising to 4,421 meters above sea level. The range is also home to famous natural landmarks such as Yosemite Valley and Sequoia National Park. Further west along the coast lies the Cascade Range, which stretches from Northern California through Oregon and Washington into British Columbia in Canada. The Cascades are known for their volcanic peaks, including Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, and Mount St. Helens. Many of these mountains were formed through volcanic activity and still show signs of their fiery origins. Europe also contains several well-known mountain ranges. The Alps are perhaps the most famous. This range stretches across 8 countries, including France, Switzerland, Italy, Austria, Germany, Slovenia, Liechtenstein, and Monaco. The Alps are known for their dramatic scenery, steep peaks, and charming villages nestled in valleys below the mountains. The highest mountain in the Alps is Mont Blanc, which rises to about 4,808 meters above sea level along the border between France and Italy. Mont Blanc has long been a destination for climbers and explorers, as well as travelers who come to admire its snow-covered summit. Another important European range is the Pyrenees, which form a natural border between France and Spain. These mountains stretch for roughly 430 kilometers from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. The Pyrenees contain many beautiful valleys, forests, and high alpine meadows. In Eastern Europe, the Carpathian Mountains curve through countries including Slovakia, Poland, Ukraine, and Romania. These mountains are known for their dense forests and diverse wildlife. Brown bears, wolves, and lynx still inhabit parts of the Carpathian region. Africa contains several mountain ranges as well, although many of the continent's highest peaks are isolated volcanic mountains. Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania is the tallest mountain in Africa, rising to 5,895 meters above sea level. Its broad slopes rise above the surrounding plains, creating one of the most recognizable mountain silhouettes in the world. Another African mountain range is the Atlas Mountains, which stretch across Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia in North Africa. The Atlas Mountains separate the coastal regions of the Mediterranean from the vast Sahara Desert to the south. The highest peak in the Atlas Range is Mount Toubkal, located in Morocco. Australia, though generally known for its lower landscapes, also contains mountain ranges. The Great Dividing Range runs along the eastern side of the continent for more than 3,500 kilometers. Within this system lie the Australian Alps, where the country's highest peak, Mount Kosciuszko, rises to 2,228 meters above sea level. In New Zealand, the Southern Alps form a dramatic mountain backbone along the South Island. These mountains include Aoraki, also known as Mount Cook, which rises to 3,724 meters. The southern Alps are known for their glaciers, alpine lakes, and striking mountain scenery. Even Antarctica contains mountain ranges hidden beneath thick ice sheets. The Transantarctic Mountains stretch across the continent for more than 3,500 kilometers. Though much of this range is buried under ice, certain peaks rise above the frozen surface, forming rugged nunataks that break through the icy landscape. Mountain ranges influence many aspects of the regions around them. They can act as natural barriers that shape travel routes and political borders. They also influence rainfall patterns by forcing moist air to rise and cool as it moves over the mountains. This process often leads to increased rainfall on one side of a range and drier conditions on the other. Because of their height and rugged terrain, mountain ranges often preserve unique environments where plants and animals adapt to conditions found nowhere else. Valleys, ridges, and high plateaus create a variety of habitats within relatively small areas. For explorers, travelers, and scientists, mountain ranges provide endless opportunities for discovery. Trails wind through forests and along ridgelines, leading to viewpoints where vast landscapes unfold in every direction. From the towering Himalayas to the gentle slopes of older ranges, mountains form a global network of high places that stretch across nearly every continent. Each range carries its own history, character, and natural beauty, and when seen from afar, the long silhouettes of mountain ranges remind us of the immense forces that shape the earth, slowly lifting stone and land into the sky. Throughout history, certain mountains have become especially well known because of their great height, unique shape, cultural importance, or the stories connected to them. These famous peaks often stand as symbols of the regions where they rise. Travelers, climbers, artists, and storytellers have described them for generations, helping their images become recognized across the world. Perhaps the most famous mountain on Earth is Mount Everest. Located in the Himalayan range on the border between Nepal and China, Everest rises to a height of 8,848 meters above sea level. This makes it the highest mountain on the planet when measured from sea level. The mountain is known as Sagarmatha in Nepal and Chomolungma in Tibet, names that reflect the long cultural history of the region. Everest attracts climbers from around the world who attempt to reach its summit. The journey to the top is long and demanding. Climbers must travel through glaciers, steep ice slopes, and high ridges where the air becomes thin. Because of the extreme altitude, most climbers require several weeks to slowly adjust to the height before attempting the final ascent. Not far from Everest stands another legendary peak called K2. Rising to 8,611 meters, K2 is the second highest mountain on Earth. It is located in the Karakoram range along the border between Pakistan and China. K2 is often considered one of the most difficult mountains in the world to climb due to its steep slopes, unpredictable weather, and technical climbing routes. Another remarkable mountain in the Himalayas is Kangchenjunga. At 8,586 meters tall, It is the third highest mountain in the world. Kangchenjunga lies on the border between Nepal and India and is known for its massive ridges and towering summit. In local traditions, the mountain has long been regarded as sacred. Moving to another continent, one of the most recognizable mountains in the world is Mount Fuji in Japan. Fuji rises to 3,776 meters and stands alone as a symmetrical volcanic cone. For centuries, Mount Fuji has appeared in Japanese paintings, poetry, and religious traditions. Many visitors travel to the region each year to climb the mountain or view it from nearby lakes and towns. In Europe, the Matterhorn is among the most famous mountains of the Alps. Located on the border between Switzerland and Italy, the Matterhorn rises to 4,478 meters above sea level. Its steep pyramid shape makes it one of the most distinctive peaks in the world. The mountain's dramatic appearance has made it a favorite subject for photographers and artists. Another celebrated alpine peak is Mont Blanc. Standing at approximately 4,808 meters, Mont Blanc is the highest mountain in the Alps and Western Europe. The name Mont Blanc means White Mountain, a fitting description for its snow-covered summit. Mont Blanc has played an important role in the history of mountaineering, as some of the earliest organized climbs in the Alps took place there. North America also contains several well-known mountains. The tallest peak on the continent is Denali, located in the state of Alaska in the United States. Denali rises to 6,190 meters above sea level. What makes Denali particularly impressive is the height of the mountain from its base to its summit, which is greater than many other mountains of similar elevation. Denali stands within a vast wilderness of forests, rivers, and tundra. On clear days, the mountain can be seen from hundreds of kilometers away. Its name comes from an indigenous Alaskan language and means the High One. Another famous North American peak is Mount Rainier in Washington state. Mount Rainier rises to 4,392 meters and is part of the Cascade Range. This mountain is actually a large volcanic peak covered with glaciers. Because of its height and snowy summit, Mount Rainier dominates the surrounding landscape and can often be seen from the nearby city of Seattle. In South America, the Andes Mountains contain many impressive peaks, but the most famous is Aconcagua. Located in Argentina, Aconcagua rises to 6,961 meters above sea level. It is the highest mountain outside of Asia and attracts climbers from around the world. Although Aconcagua is extremely tall, some of its routes are considered less technically difficult than many other mountains of similar height. However, the thin air and strong winds still make climbing the mountain a challenging experience. Africa is home to one of the most iconic mountains on Earth, Mount Kilimanjaro. Located in Tanzania, Kilimanjaro rises to 5,895 meters above sea level. Unlike many other tall mountains, Kilimanjaro stands alone rather than forming part of a large range. Its wide slopes rise gradually from the surrounding plains. Kilimanjaro is actually composed of 3 volcanic cones known as Kibo, Mwenzi, and Shira. The highest point, Uhuru Peak, lies on the summit of Kibo. Because of its gradual slopes, Kilimanjaro is often climbed by hikers who do not require advanced technical climbing equipment. In the southern hemisphere, New Zealand's tallest mountain is Aoraki, also called Mount Cook. This mountain rises to 3,724 meters in the southern Alps of New Zealand. The surrounding landscape includes glaciers, alpine lakes, and steep rock faces that create a dramatic mountain environment. Aoraki holds great cultural significance for the Maori people of New Zealand. According to traditional stories, the mountain represents an important ancestral figure connected to the formation of the land. Another famous peak in Asia is Mount Ararat, located in eastern Turkey. Rising to about 5,137 meters above sea level, Mount Ararat is a large dormant volcanic mountain. Its snow-covered summit rises above broad plains, making it visible from great distances. Mount Ararat has been mentioned in many historical traditions and has long captured the imagination of explorers and travelers. In Antarctica, one of the most notable peaks is Mount Vinson. Mount Vinson rises to 4,892 meters above sea level and is the highest mountain on the Antarctic continent. Located within the remote Ellsworth Mountains, it stands in one of the coldest and most isolated regions on Earth. Climbing Mount Vinson requires long travel through icy landscapes and careful preparation due to the extreme environment. Across the world, famous mountains often become destinations for adventure, exploration, and quiet appreciation. Some visitors travel to climb them, while others simply admire their beauty from valleys or nearby towns. Each famous mountain has its own personality, shaped by its height, climate, and surrounding landscape. Some peaks rise as sharp towers of rock and ice. Others form broad slopes or graceful cones that appear almost perfectly symmetrical. Despite their differences, these mountains share a common ability to inspire wonder. Their immense scale reminds us of the powerful forces that shape the Earth over vast periods of time. When sunlight first touches a high summit in the early morning, the peak may glow softly above darker valleys below. In the evening, the same mountain may appear calm and silent beneath a sky full of stars. And in those quiet moments, famous mountains continue to stand watch over the landscapes that surround them, just as they have for countless years. Although mountains may appear harsh and rugged, they are home to a remarkable variety of living things. From dense forests at lower slopes to hardy plants near high summits, mountain environments support many different forms of life. The plants and animals that live in these regions are often specially adapted to the changing conditions found at different elevations. One of the most noticeable features of mountains is how the landscape changes as you travel higher. At the base of many mountains, the land may be warm and fertile. Rivers flow through valleys, and forests or grasslands cover the lower slopes. As the elevation increases, temperatures usually become cooler, and the environment gradually changes. These layers of changing environment are sometimes called elevation zones. Each zone contains its own types of plants and animals that are suited to the conditions found at that height. Moving upward through a mountain can sometimes feel like traveling through several different regions of the world within a relatively short distance. In many mountain regions, forests cover the lower slopes. These forests may contain tall trees such as pine, spruce, fir, or cedar. The exact types of trees depend on the climate and location of the mountain range. In tropical mountain regions, lower slopes may be covered in thick rainforests, filled with a wide variety of plants. Forest environments provide homes for many animals. Deer, bears, foxes, and smaller mammals often live among the trees. Birds build nests in branches, while insects and other small creatures thrive in the rich soil and fallen leaves that cover the forest floor. As the elevation increases, forests may begin to thin out. Trees often grow shorter and more widely spaced as temperatures become cooler and winds become stronger. Eventually, the forest may give way to open meadows filled with grasses, wildflowers, and low-growing shrubs. These high mountain meadows are often called alpine meadows. During warmer months, they can become colorful landscapes filled with blooming flowers. Plants in these areas are usually small and close to the ground, which helps protect them from strong winds and cold temperatures. The line above which trees can no longer grow is known as the tree line. Beyond this point, the climate becomes too cold or the growing season too short for trees to survive. Above the tree line, the landscape may consist mainly of grasses, mosses, lichens, and hardy alpine plants. Despite the challenging conditions, many animals thrive in alpine environments. One well-known mountain animal is the mountain goat. These animals are excellent climbers with strong hooves that allow them to move across steep, rocky slopes. Their thick coats protect them from cold temperatures. Another famous mountain animal is the snow leopard. Found in the high mountains of Central Asia, the snow leopard is a powerful and elusive predator. Its thick fur and long tail help it survive in cold environments. The snow leopard is also well adapted to climbing rocky terrain while searching for prey. In North America, bighorn sheep are often seen on steep mountain cliffs. These animals have curved horns and strong legs that allow them to leap across rocky ledges with remarkable balance. Living on steep slopes helps protect them from many predators. Mountain regions also provide habitats for smaller animals, such as marmots and pikas. Marmots are large ground-dwelling rodents that live in burrows among rocks and grassy slopes. They often spend long periods resting in the sun during warmer months. Pikas are small animals related to rabbits. They gather grasses and plants during the summer and store them in piles known as haystacks. These stored plants help them survive during colder seasons when fresh vegetation is scarce. Birds are also common in mountain regions. Large birds of prey, such as eagles and hawks, often soar along mountain ridges. Rising air currents created by the slopes allow these birds to glide with very little effort. Other birds make their homes among rocky cliffs or in alpine meadows. Some species migrate to mountain regions during warmer seasons to take advantage of the abundant food and nesting sites found there. Plant life in mountains must also adapt to the environment. Alpine plants often grow low to the ground to avoid strong winds. Many have small leaves that help reduce moisture loss. Some plants grow in tight clusters, which helps them retain warmth during cold nights. Certain mountain flowers bloom quickly during short growing seasons. when snow melts and sunlight returns, these plants grow rapidly and produce colorful blossoms that attract insects for pollination. Lichens and mosses are also common in high mountain environments. These organisms can grow directly on rocks where soil is scarce. They play an important role in slowly breaking down rock surfaces and helping create new soil over long periods of time. Mountain streams and lakes support additional forms of life. Fish, insects, and amphibians may inhabit clear, cold waters that flow through valleys. These waterways often provide drinking water for animals living nearby. Human communities have also learned to live in mountain environments. People who live in mountain villages often develop ways of farming and building that suit the terrain. Terraced fields carved in the slopes allow crops to grow on land that would otherwise be too steep for agriculture. In some regions, animals such as goats, sheep, llamas, and yaks are raised on mountain pastures. These animals are well suited to grazing on steep slopes where other livestock might struggle. Seasonal changes can be dramatic in mountain regions. Winters often bring heavy snow and cold temperatures, especially at higher elevations. Many animals migrate to lower areas or enter periods of reduced activity during colder months. When warmer seasons return, mountain landscapes come alive again with flowing streams, blooming plants, and the activity of animals returning to higher slopes. For many people, mountain ecosystems offer a sense of peaceful beauty. Walking along a quiet mountain trail may reveal birds calling from the trees, wildflowers growing beside the path, and distant animals moving across the slopes. These living communities remind us that mountains are not only towering landscapes of rock and snow, they are also vibrant environments filled with life that has adapted to thrive in high and sometimes challenging places. And as the sun sets over mountain ridges and the air grows cooler, these plants and animals continue their quiet existence among the slopes, valleys, and peaks of the world's great mountains. Weather in mountain regions often behaves differently from weather in nearby lowlands. Because mountains rise high into the atmosphere, they interact with moving air in ways that create unique patterns of wind, clouds, rainfall, and snowfall. These conditions can change quickly, sometimes shifting from clear skies to stormy weather within a short period of time. One of the most noticeable characteristics of mountain weather is the way temperature changes with elevation. As a general rule, the air becomes cooler as you travel higher above sea level. On average, the temperature drops by about 6.5 degrees Celsius for every 1,000 meters of elevation gained. Because of this, a warm valley can lead to snowy slopes only a few kilometers away. This cooling effect helps explain why snow and ice are often found near the summits of tall mountains, even when the surrounding lowlands remain warm. High peaks may stay cold enough to hold snow for much of the year. In some places, permanent snowfields and glaciers remain on mountain slopes for centuries. Mountains also influence how air moves across the landscape. When winds carry moist air toward a mountain range, the air is forced to rise as it encounters the slopes. As the air rises, it expands and cools. Cooler air cannot hold as much moisture as warm air, so the water vapor begins to condense into clouds. As clouds form and grow thicker, rain or snow may fall on the side of the mountain facing the incoming wind. This effect is called orographic precipitation. Because of this process, one side of a mountain range may receive heavy rainfall, while the opposite side remains much drier. The drier region on the sheltered side of a mountain range is sometimes called a rain shadow. In these areas, the air has already lost much of its moisture while crossing the mountains, leaving little rainfall for the valleys beyond. Mountain winds can also behave in interesting ways. During the day, sunlight warms mountain slopes, causing the air along the slopes to rise. This rising air creates gentle upward winds known as valley breezes. These breezes move from the valley floor up toward the mountain ridges. At night, the process often reverses. As the ground cools, the air near the slopes becomes cooler and denser. This heavier air flows downhill into the valleys, creating what are called mountain breezes. These nighttime winds move quietly downward along the slopes. In some regions, mountains create powerful winds that can travel great distances. One example is the föhn wind, which occurs in parts of the Alps. When air crosses the mountains and descends on the opposite side, it becomes warmer and drier. This descending air can create sudden warm winds that quickly melt snow. Another example is the Chinook wind found in parts of North America, east of the Rocky Mountains. Chinook winds can cause temperatures to rise rapidly in winter, sometimes increasing by many degrees within only a few hours. Cloud formations around mountains can also be striking. As air flows over peaks, it sometimes creates smooth lens-shaped clouds called lenticular clouds. These clouds appear stationary, even though strong winds may be moving through them. Lenticular clouds are often seen hovering near mountain summits. Weather conditions at high elevations can be especially unpredictable. A mountain summit that begins the day under clear skies may later become covered in fog, clouds, or snow. For this reason, climbers and hikers often pay close attention to weather forecasts before traveling into high mountain regions. Storms that develop in mountains can bring strong winds, lightning, heavy rain, or sudden snowfall. Because temperatures are lower at high elevations, precipitation that begins as rain at the base of a mountain may fall as snow higher up the slopes. Snowfall is an important part of many mountain climates. During winter months, snow may accumulate deeply on slopes and ridges. Over time, layers of snow compress under their own weight, forming dense snowpacks that remain throughout the season. As spring and summer arrive, melting snow feeds streams and rivers that flow down into valleys and plains. This seasonal melting helps supply water to many regions that depend on mountain snow for fresh water. Mountains also create a wide variety of microclimates. A microclimate is a small area where weather conditions differ from the surrounding region. For example, a sunny south-facing slope may be warmer than a shaded north-facing slope, only a short distance away. Because of these variations, plants and animals often find different habitats within the same mountain range. Some species prefer warm, sheltered valleys, while others thrive in cooler, shaded areas higher up the slopes. Sunlight can also behave differently in mountain landscapes. At high elevations, the thinner atmosphere allows sunlight to reach the ground more directly. This can make the sun feel stronger than it does at lower elevations. Clear mountain air often creates beautiful views during sunrise and sunset. As the sun rises, the first light may touch the highest peaks before reaching the valleys below. These glowing summits sometimes appear golden or pink for a few brief moments. In the evening, the same peaks may again catch the final light of the day, while shadows gradually spread across the lower landscape. These peaceful transitions between day and night are among the most memorable sights in mountain regions. During winter nights, cold, clear air in mountain valleys can create brilliant views of the night sky. Far from city lights, the stars appear bright and numerous. The Milky Way may stretch across the sky like a faint river of light. Seasons in mountain regions often feel more dramatic than in many lowland areas. Spring brings melting snow and flowing streams. Summer offers green meadows and wildflowers. Autumn may cover slopes with golden leaves before winter returns with snow and quiet stillness. Each season transforms the mountains in its own way, creating landscapes that shift gently throughout the year. These changes remind us that even the most solid mountains are part of a living and changing natural world. And as clouds drift across the peaks and winds move quietly through the valleys, the weather of the mountains continues its slow and ever-changing rhythm. High mountain regions play an important role in the movement and storage of water across the earth. Snow, ice, and rainfall that collect on mountain slopes eventually travel downhill, forming streams and rivers that flow through valleys and plains far below. Because of this important role, mountains are sometimes called the water towers of the world. Many rivers begin as small trickles of water high in the mountains. Snow that falls during colder months slowly melts when temperatures rise. This melting snow forms tiny streams that flow downhill along rocky slopes. As these small streams join together, they gradually grow into larger rivers that continue their journey across the landscape. In many parts of the world, mountain snow provides an important supply of fresh water. During winter, snow accumulates in thick layers across mountain slopes. This snowpack acts like a natural reservoir, storing water until warmer seasons arrive. As spring and summer bring warmer temperatures, the snow melts gradually and releases water into rivers and lakes. This steady release of melting snow helps maintain river flow during seasons when rainfall may be limited. Many cities, farms, and ecosystems depend on rivers that begin in mountain regions. Without the snow and ice stored in the mountains, water supplies in many places would become far less reliable. In addition to seasonal snow, some mountains contain large bodies of ice known as glaciers. A glacier forms when layers of snow accumulate year after year and slowly compress into dense ice. Over time, this mass of ice becomes heavy enough to begin moving downhill under the influence of gravity. Although glaciers move slowly, their movement can have a powerful effect on the landscape. As a glacier travels downhill, it carries rocks and debris frozen within the ice. The glacier grinds against the rock beneath it, carving valleys and shaping the surrounding terrain. Glacial valleys often have wide, flat floors and steep sides. These valleys are commonly described as having a U shape because of their curved profile. Many well-known mountain valleys were formed through long periods of glacial movement. Glaciers also leave behind distinctive landforms when they melt or retreat. Piles of rock and sediment carried by the ice may be deposited along the edges or ends of glaciers. These deposits are known as moraines. Moraines can appear as ridges of rock and gravel that mark the former path of a glacier. In some mountain regions, glaciers feed beautiful alpine lakes. As glaciers carve out deep basins in the landscape, melting ice may fill these depressions with clear cold water. These lakes often reflect surrounding peaks and forests, creating some of the most scenic views found in mountain environments. Water flowing through mountains often creates waterfalls. When rivers travel over steep cliffs or rocky ledges, the water may plunge downward in a dramatic cascade. Some waterfalls fall only a few meters, while others drop hundreds of meters down towering cliffs. One famous example is Yosemite Falls in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. This waterfall drops a total of about 739 meters, making it one of the tallest waterfalls in North America. During seasons when snowmelt is strong, the flow of water can be especially powerful. Mountain streams are often clear and cold because they originate from melting snow and ice. These streams may tumble rapidly over rocks, creating the sound of rushing water that echoes through mountain valleys. Over time, the flowing water gradually wears away rock surfaces and shapes the channels through which it travels. Rivers that begin in mountains may travel thousands of kilometers before reaching the sea. Along the way, they provide water for agriculture, wildlife, and human communities. Some of the world's most important rivers begin in mountain regions. For example, the Yangtze River in China begins on the Tibetan Plateau, a high region surrounded by mountain ranges. The Ganges River, one of the most important rivers in South Asia, also begins in the Himalayas. In South America, the Amazon River has tributaries that begin high in the Andes Mountains. Even smaller mountain streams play important roles in their ecosystems. These streams provide habitat for fish, amphibians, insects, and aquatic plants. Animals such as deer, birds, and bears often visit streams to drink water or search for food. Water in mountain environments also moves underground. Rain and melting snow can soak into the soil and travel through cracks in rock layers. This underground water may eventually emerge from springs along hillsides or valley floors. Mountain springs often produce clear, fresh water that flows steadily throughout the year. In many regions, communities rely on spring water as an important source of drinking water. Ice and snow in mountains also influence the temperature of nearby environments. Large glaciers reflect sunlight and help keep surrounding areas cooler. Streams fed by glacial meltwater remain cold even during warmer seasons. The sound of flowing water is a familiar part of many mountain landscapes. Gentle streams may wind quietly through meadows, while powerful rivers rush through narrow canyons. In quieter places, small trickles of water may drip slowly from melting snowfields. During warmer months, hikers and travelers often follow trails that run beside mountain streams. The steady sound of water moving over stones can create a peaceful atmosphere that many people find calming. In colder seasons, water may freeze along the edges of streams or waterfalls. Ice forms delicate shapes along rocks and branches, sometimes creating shimmering patterns that catch the winter sunlight. Over long periods of time, water continues to reshape mountain landscapes. Rivers carve deeper valleys, glaciers smooth rocky slopes, and streams carry sediments downhill. These processes work slowly, but steadily, gradually altering the appearance of mountains. Despite these changes, mountains continue to serve as vital sources of water for much of the world. Snow, glaciers, rainfall, and underground springs all contribute to the network of rivers that begin in high places. As water flows from mountain peaks toward distant oceans, it carries with it the quiet story of the mountains themselves. Each drop may begin its journey high among snowy ridges before traveling across valleys, plains, and forests. And in the stillness of early morning, when sunlight touches the peaks and streams begin their daily flow, the mountains once again release their stored water into the world below. For much of human history, mountains were viewed with a mixture of curiosity, respect, and sometimes caution. Their steep slopes and unpredictable weather made them difficult to travel through, and many early communities preferred to settle in valleys or plains where farming and transportation were easier. Yet even in ancient times, people ventured into mountain regions to explore, trade, gather resources, or simply experience the beauty of the high landscapes. Some of the earliest recorded journeys into mountains were made by traders and travelers, crossing high passes between regions. Mountain passes are lower points along a range where travel is somewhat easier than crossing the highest peaks. These routes allowed people to move goods, ideas, and cultures between distant lands. One famous historical route was the Silk Road, a network of trade paths connecting East Asia with the Middle East and Europe. Several branches of the Silk Road passed through mountain regions, including parts of the Pamir Mountains and other high plateaus of Central Asia. Traders traveling these routes carried silk, spices, precious metals, and many other goods across great distances. Over time, curiosity about mountains grew. Travelers began exploring higher and more remote areas, documenting their journeys in journals and maps. Scientists also became interested in mountains because they offered opportunities to study geology, plants, weather, and the behavior of glaciers. During the 18th and 19th centuries, mountain exploration became more organized. In Europe, the Alps attracted climbers who were eager to reach the summits of the region's highest peaks. This period is often referred to as the Golden Age of mountaineering. One of the early milestones of mountain climbing occurred in 1786, when two climbers named Jacques Balmat and Michel Pacard successfully reached the summit of Mont Blanc in the Alps. Their ascent demonstrated that even very high mountains could be climbed with determination and careful planning. As mountaineering grew more popular, climbers developed specialized equipment to help them travel safely through steep terrain. Ropes, ice axes, and sturdy boots became essential tools for navigating icy slopes and rocky ridges. Climbing techniques also improved over time. Early climbers often relied on simple methods and natural pathways through the mountains. Later climbers began using more advanced techniques to scale difficult rock faces and cross glaciers safely. By the 20th century, climbers began setting their sights on the highest peaks in the world. The Himalayas, with their towering mountains rising above 8,000 meters, became a major focus of exploration. One of the greatest achievements in mountaineering history occurred in 1953, when two climbers reached the summit of Mount Everest for the first confirmed time. The climbers were Edmund Hillary of New Zealand and Tenzing Norgay, a skilled Sherpa mountaineer from Nepal. Their successful ascent was the result of years of preparation and teamwork. Sherpa climbers from the Himalayan region have played an essential role in many mountain expeditions. Known for their experience and strength at high altitude, Sherpas have guided and supported climbers on numerous journeys through the Himalayas. Climbing high mountains requires careful preparation. Climbers must carry supplies such as food, water, warm clothing, and specialized gear. Because the air becomes thinner at high elevations, climbers often ascend gradually to allow their bodies time to adjust. This gradual process is known as acclimatization. By spending time at intermediate elevations, climbers give their bodies a chance to adapt to lower oxygen levels before attempting the final ascent to the summit. Many large mountains require climbers to establish several camps along the route. These camps serve as resting places where climbers can recover energy and prepare for the next stage of the climb. Supplies may be carried between camps over several days or weeks. Weather is one of the most important factors in mountain climbing. Clear, calm conditions provide the safest opportunities for climbing, while storms can create dangerous situations. Climbers often wait patiently for favorable weather before making their final attempt to reach the summit. Modern technology has improved safety for many climbers. Satellite communication, weather forecasting, and improved equipment allow climbers to plan their journeys more carefully than ever before. Despite these advancements, mountains remain powerful and unpredictable environments. Successful climbs often depend on teamwork, careful judgment, and respect for the natural conditions found in high places. Not everyone who travels into the mountains aims to reach the highest peaks. Many people enjoy hiking along mountain trails that lead through forests, meadows, and scenic viewpoints. These trails allow visitors to experience the beauty of mountains without requiring technical climbing skills. National parks around the world maintain thousands of kilometers of mountain trails. These paths guide hikers through landscapes filled with waterfalls, lakes, and wide open vistas. In some regions, mountain railways and cable cars carry visitors high into the mountains. These transportation systems allow people to experience spectacular views while traveling safely above steep slopes. Mountain exploration has also contributed greatly to scientific understanding. Researchers study glaciers to learn about ice movement, examine rock layers to understand geological history, and observe wildlife living in alpine environments. Even today, new discoveries continue to emerge from mountain regions. Hidden valleys, unique ecosystems, and previously unexplored peaks still attract explorers and scientists. For many people, however, the greatest reward of visiting mountains is simply the sense of quiet and perspective they offer. Standing on a high ridge and looking out across distant peaks can create a feeling of calm reflection. The journey upward through forests, across streams, and along rocky paths often becomes a memorable experience in itself. Each step reveals new views and changing landscapes. When climbers finally reach a summit, they may pause for a moment to take in the view. Far below lie valleys, rivers and forests stretching toward the horizon. Above them is open sky. In these peaceful moments, the effort of the climb fades into a quiet sense of accomplishment, and long after climbers descend back into the valleys, the mountains remain, continuing their silent watch over the landscapes below. For thousands of years, people have made their homes in mountain regions around the world. Although living in the mountains can present challenges such as steep terrain, colder temperatures, and limited farmland, many communities have developed ways to thrive in these environments. Over time, unique cultures, traditions, and lifestyles have grown in harmony with the surrounding landscapes. Mountain villages are often built in places that provide some protection from the elements. Sheltered valleys, sunny slopes, and areas near reliable water sources are common locations for settlement. Houses in mountain regions are frequently constructed using materials found nearby, such as stone, wood, or packed earth. Stone is often used because it provides strong walls that can withstand wind and cold weather. Thick walls help keep homes warm during colder seasons and cool during warmer months. Wooden beams and roofs may also be used where forests provide suitable timber. In many mountain regions, communities develop terraced farming to grow crops on steep slopes. Terraces are flat platforms carved into hillsides that create level surfaces for planting. Stone walls support these terraces and prevent soil from washing downhill during heavy rain. Terraced farming allows farmers to grow crops in places where ordinary fields would not be possible. Rice terraces in parts of Asia are especially well known for their beauty and careful construction. These stepped fields follow the shape of the mountainsides and can extend for great distances. Mountain agriculture often focuses on crops that can grow in cooler climates and shorter growing seasons. Potatoes, barley, wheat, and certain vegetables are commonly grown in highland regions. Farmers carefully plan planting and harvesting times to match the seasonal changes of the mountains. In addition to crops, many mountain communities raise livestock suited to steep terrain. Goats and sheep are especially common because they can graze on rocky slopes and sparse vegetation. In the Andes Mountains of South America, animals such as llamas and alpacas have long been raised for their wool and ability to carry loads along mountain trails. In the high Himalayas, yaks are important animals for many communities. Yaks are strong animals with thick coats that help them survive in cold, high-altitude environments. They provide milk, wool, and transportation for people living in remote mountain villages. Transportation in mountain regions has often depended on trails that follow ridges or valleys. Before modern roads were built, many mountain communities relied on walking paths used by people and pack animals. These trails sometimes connected villages separated by deep valleys or high passes. Over time, mountain cultures developed traditions that reflected their surroundings. Festivals, music, clothing, and food often incorporate elements connected to the land and seasons. For example, harvest festivals celebrate the gathering of crops grown on mountain terraces and fields. Clothing in mountain regions is often designed to provide warmth and protection from changing weather. Thick wool garments, layered clothing, and sturdy boots help people stay comfortable in cooler climates. Foods in mountain communities frequently include ingredients that can be stored or preserved for long periods. Cheeses, dried meats, grains, and root vegetables are common staples. These foods provide reliable nutrition during colder months when fresh crops may be limited. Mountain regions have also been home to important spiritual traditions. In many cultures, mountains are seen as sacred places that inspire reflection and respect. Temples, monasteries, and shrines have often been built on mountain slopes or near high passes. In the Himalayas, Buddhist monasteries are sometimes located in remote highland areas where monks can live in quiet surroundings. These monasteries often overlook valleys and peaks, creating peaceful places for meditation and study. Similarly, in the Andes Mountains, many ancient traditions honored mountain spirits believed to watch over the land. Even today, some communities hold ceremonies that express gratitude for the mountains and the resources they provide. Mountain architecture often reflects the need to adapt to the terrain and climate. Roofs may be steeply angled to allow snow to slide off easily. Houses are sometimes clustered close together to protect against wind and cold. In some regions, entire villages appear to grow directly from the mountainside, with homes built along terraces or rocky ledges. Narrow paths and stairways connect different parts of the settlement. Despite the challenges of mountain living, these communities often develop strong social connections. Neighbors rely on one another for support during planting seasons, harvests, and difficult weather conditions. Cooperation and shared effort play important roles in daily life. In modern times, improved roads and communication have connected many mountain communities more closely with cities and towns. Visitors often travel to mountain villages to experience traditional cultures and scenic landscapes. Tourism has become an important source of income for some mountain regions. Visitors may stay in small lodges, explore hiking trails, or learn about local traditions and crafts. Handmade textiles, carvings, and other crafts created by mountain artisans often reflect patterns and materials inspired by the natural environment. These items are sometimes passed down through generations as part of local cultural heritage. Education and healthcare have also gradually expanded into many mountain regions, helping improve the quality of life for residents while preserving traditional ways of living. Even as modern influences reach mountain communities, many traditions remain strong. Festivals continue to celebrate the seasons, and families pass on knowledge of farming, herding, and local history. Living in the mountains often encourages a close connection with nature. people become familiar with changing weather patterns, seasonal wildlife, and the rhythms of planting and harvest. Morning sunlight may arrive slowly as it climbs over nearby peaks. Evening shadows may fall early as the sun disappears behind mountain ridges. These daily patterns become part of life in highland villages. From quiet valleys in the Alps to remote settlements in the Himalayas and Andes, mountain communities show how people can adapt to and live alongside some of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth. And as night settles over the slopes and lights appear in village windows, life continues quietly among the mountains that have sheltered these cultures for generations. Although mountains often appear permanent and unchanging, they are constantly being shaped by natural forces. Over long periods of time, wind, water, ice, and gravity slowly reshape the slopes, ridges, and valleys of mountain landscapes. These processes work quietly but steadily, gradually altering the appearance of even the tallest peaks. One of the most important forces shaping mountains is erosion. Erosion is the process by which rock and soil are worn away and transported from one place to another. In mountain environments, erosion often occurs through the combined action of rain, flowing water, ice, and temperature changes. Rainwater that falls on mountain slopes begins to move downhill under the influence of gravity. As it flows across the ground, the water may carry small particles of soil and rock with it. Over time, this movement of water slowly deepens channels in the land, eventually forming streams and rivers. These streams continue to carve their way through the mountains, gradually cutting deeper valleys. In steep terrain, water may rush quickly over rocky surfaces, carrying pebbles and sand that help grind away the rock beneath the stream. Freezing and thawing also play a major role in mountain erosion. During colder seasons, water can seep into cracks in rocks. When temperatures drop below freezing, the water turns to ice and expands. This expansion places pressure on the surrounding rock, slowly widening the cracks. When the ice melts again, the cracks remain slightly larger. Over many cycles of freezing and thawing, pieces of rock may break loose and fall away from the mountainside. This process is sometimes called frost weathering. Loose rocks that fall from cliffs or steep slopes may tumble downhill in events known as rockfalls. Smaller rockfalls happen frequently in many mountain regions. Larger rockfalls may occur less often, but can involve thousands of tons of rock moving down a slope. Another type of movement that occurs in mountains is a landslide. Landslides happen when large sections of soil, rock, or debris suddenly move downhill. Heavy rainfall, melting snow, or earthquakes can sometimes trigger these events by weakening the stability of the slope. Although landslides can dramatically reshape a hillside in a short time, they are still part of the ongoing natural processes that shape mountain landscapes over long periods. Glaciers also contribute to the changing shape of mountains. As glaciers move slowly downhill, they scrape against the rock beneath them. The ice carries rocks embedded within it, which act like tools grinding and polishing the surface below. When glaciers retreat, they often leave behind wide U-shaped valleys and exposed rock surfaces that reveal the marks of their passage. Another feature created by glaciers is the cirque. A cirque is a bowl-shaped hollow carved into the side of a mountain where a glacier once formed. These rounded basins often contain small lakes after the glacier has melted away. Over time, erosion tends to wear down sharp peaks and ridges. Younger mountain ranges may have steep, jagged summits and dramatic cliffs. Older ranges often appear more rounded and gentle because erosion has gradually softened their shapes. The Appalachian Mountains in eastern North America are a well-known example of an older mountain range. Although they were once as tall as some of today's highest mountains, millions of years of erosion have worn them down into rolling ridges and valleys. In contrast, younger mountain ranges such as the Himalayas still display sharp peaks and towering cliffs. Their rugged appearance reflects the fact that erosion has not yet had enough time to significantly reduce their height. Even as erosion wears mountains down, geological forces beneath the surface may continue to push land upward. This balance between uplift and erosion determines how mountain landscapes evolve over time. Sediments carried away from mountains eventually settle in lower areas, such as valleys, plains, or ocean basins. In this way, material from mountains slowly becomes part of new landscapes elsewhere. Wind can also contribute to erosion in certain mountain environments. In dry regions with little vegetation, strong winds may carry fine particles of sand and dust across exposed rock surfaces. These particles gradually wear away the rock through a process called abrasion. Plant life can also influence the stability of mountain slopes. Roots from trees and plants help hold soil in place, reducing the likelihood of erosion or landslides. In areas where vegetation is sparse, slopes may be more vulnerable to movement during heavy rainfall. Despite these ongoing changes, most mountain landscapes evolve very slowly. The processes that shape them usually occur over thousands or millions of years. For this reason, the overall appearance of mountains may remain similar throughout many human generations. Scientists study mountain landscapes to understand how these natural processes operate. By examining rock layers, measuring erosion rates, and observing changes in glaciers and rivers, researchers can learn how mountains have developed over time. Modern technology allows scientists to use satellites and precise measuring instruments to track subtle changes in mountain terrain. These tools help reveal patterns that would otherwise be difficult to observe. For people visiting mountain regions, many of these processes are invisible during a single journey. Yet small signs of change may still be noticed. A fallen rock beside a trail, a newly carved stream channel, or a shifting patch of soil on a hillside, all reflect the ongoing transformation of the landscape. Mountains therefore represent both stability and change. Their towering peaks may seem timeless, yet their shapes are constantly being refined by the forces of nature. As rivers continue to flow, ice moves slowly through valleys, and wind travels across ridges, the mountains gradually evolve. Over long spans of time, these quiet processes sculpt the landscapes we see today. And even as the peaks stand tall beneath passing clouds, the patient work of erosion continues, shaping the mountains one grain of rock at a time. Mountain landscapes vary greatly from one part of the world to another. Differences in climate, elevation, geology, and location all influence the appearance of mountain regions. Some mountains rise above thick forests, while others stand over dry deserts or frozen ice fields. These varied environments create a wide range of scenery that continues to inspire travelers, artists, and explorers. In tropical regions, mountains often rise above dense rainforests filled with rich plant life. Warm temperatures and abundant rainfall allow thick vegetation to grow across the lower slopes. Tall trees form a canopy that shades the forest floor, while vines and mosses cling to branches and rocks. As travelers move higher into tropical mountains, the environment gradually changes. Cooler temperatures and frequent clouds create what are known as cloud forests. These forests are often wrapped in mist and moisture, drifting through the trees. Mosses, orchids, and ferns grow abundantly in these humid conditions. One well-known example of tropical mountain scenery can be found in the Andes of South America. In countries such as Peru and Ecuador, steep mountain slopes rise above deep green valleys and ancient agricultural terraces. High above these slopes lie plateaus and peaks that stretch across the horizon. The Andes also contain volcanoes, whose cone-shaped peaks rise dramatically above the surrounding land. Some of these volcanoes remain dormant, while others have erupted in the past. Their towering silhouettes often dominate the skyline of nearby regions. In contrast, some mountain landscapes appear in dry desert environments. In these places, rainfall is scarce, and vegetation may be sparse. Rocky ridges and bare slopes reflect the colors of exposed stone, ranging from deep red and brown to pale gray and gold. The mountains of the American Southwest provide an example of this type of landscape. Ranges rise above deserts, filled with sand, cactus plants, and wide open plains. The sharp outlines of these mountains are often especially striking during sunrise and sunset, when sunlight highlights the textures of the rock. Another remarkable type of mountain landscape occurs in regions shaped by glaciers. In colder climates, glaciers have carved dramatic valleys, steep cliffs, and sharp ridges into the mountains. These landscapes often contain clear lakes, waterfalls, and polished rock surfaces left behind by moving ice. The mountains of Norway and parts of Canada contain many glacially shaped valleys, known as fjords. Fjords are deep, narrow inlets of the sea that extend far inland between steep mountain walls. These waterways create some of the most dramatic coastal scenery in the world. In Europe, the Alps display a wide variety of mountain landscapes within a relatively small area. Some valleys contain lush, green pastures, dotted with wooden farmhouses and grazing animals. Higher elevations reveal rocky ridges and snowy peaks rising above glaciers. Many alpine valleys are home to small villages surrounded by forests and meadows. During warmer months, wildflowers bloom across the slopes, creating colorful landscapes beneath the towering peaks. In Asia, the Himalayan mountains form some of the most massive and rugged landscapes on Earth. Massive ridges stretch for hundreds of kilometers, with valleys carved by powerful rivers flowing from glaciers high above. In these regions, the scale of the landscape can feel immense. Peaks rise so high that their summits remain covered in snow throughout the year. Deep valleys lie far below, connected by narrow trails and mountain passes. The Tibetan Plateau, located north of the Himalayas, presents yet another type of high mountain environment. This vast plateau sits at an average elevation of more than 4,000 meters above sea level. The landscape contains wide open plains surrounded by distant mountain ranges. In North America, the Rocky Mountains offer a mixture of forests, alpine meadows, and rugged peaks. Clear mountain lakes reflect surrounding slopes, while rivers wind through valleys filled with evergreen trees. During autumn, some mountain forests change color as leaves turn shades of gold, orange, and red. These seasonal changes add another layer of beauty to mountain landscapes. Farther north in Alaska and parts of Canada, mountain ranges rise above vast wilderness areas. Snow-covered peaks, glaciers, and remote valleys stretch across large regions where human settlement is limited. In Africa, the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro provide an example of how landscapes change with elevation. At the base of the mountain, warm savannas contain grasslands and scattered trees. Higher up, forests and moorlands appear before giving way to rocky alpine terrain near the summit. Australia's mountain regions, though generally lower in elevation than many others, also offer beautiful scenery. The Australian Alps contain rolling ridges, open grasslands, and eucalyptus forests. In winter, snow sometimes covers the highest peaks. New Zealand's Southern Alps provide another striking mountain landscape. Glaciers flow between sharp peaks, while rivers and lakes reflect the surrounding mountains. The contrast between rugged mountains and green valleys creates dramatic scenery. Even Antarctica contains mountain landscapes hidden beneath vast ice sheets, where peaks rise above the ice. Dark, rocky ridges stand against a bright white background of snow and frozen plains. Across all these regions, mountain landscapes continue to change throughout the seasons. Snow may cover peaks during winter and gradually melt during warmer months. Rivers swell with snowmelt, and meadows fill with blooming plants. Morning mist may drift through valleys, while afternoon sunlight illuminates distant ridges. Clouds cast moving shadows across the slopes as they travel overhead. These quiet changes create endless variations in mountain scenery. The same valley may appear different with each passing hour, as light and weather transform the view. For many people, mountain landscapes provide a sense of peace and perspective. Looking across distant ridges and valleys can remind us of the vast scale of the natural world. And as evening light fades behind the peaks, the mountains remain standing quietly across the horizon, their shapes softened by twilight and the coming of night. High mountain regions often create a sense of quiet that is difficult to find in many other places. Far from busy cities and crowded roads, the mountains offer wide open landscapes where sound travels differently and time seems to move a little more slowly. The gentle wind across the slopes, the distant sound of flowing water, and the occasional call of a bird are often the only noises that break the stillness. Many people who visit mountains notice this peaceful atmosphere almost immediately. As trails wind upward through forests and meadows, the busy sounds of everyday life gradually fade away. In their place comes the quiet rhythm of footsteps on the trail and the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. The journey into the mountains often begins in valleys where rivers flow between wooded hills. As travelers climb higher, the views begin to expand. Trees grow thinner, and distant ridges appear along the horizon. With each step upward, the landscape opens further, revealing a wider perspective of the surrounding terrain. Reaching a high ridge or summit can be a memorable experience. From these elevated viewpoints, valleys, forests, rivers, and distant peaks may stretch for many kilometers in every direction. On clear days, the horizon can appear almost endless. Looking out across such landscapes often brings a sense of calm reflection. The mountains remind us of the immense scale of the natural world and the long stretches of time during which these landscapes formed. Light plays an important role in the beauty of mountain environments. During early morning, the first sunlight may appear along the highest peaks, while the valleys below remain in shadow. These moments of sunrise often create soft colors across the snow, rock, and clouds. As the sun continues to rise, warm light slowly spreads across the slopes. Meadows and forests brighten, streams begin to sparkle, and the entire landscape gradually awakens to the new day. Midday in the mountains often brings clear skies and crisp air. Shadows become shorter as the sun climbs higher above the ridges. Birds may glide on rising air currents, while distant peaks appear sharply defined against the blue sky. Afternoon light sometimes reveals new textures in the landscape. Slanting sunlight highlights ridges, rock formations, and distant valleys. The colors of grasses, stone, and trees may appear deeper and more vivid as the day progresses. Evening often brings some of the most beautiful moments in mountain scenery. As the sun moves toward the horizon, its light becomes softer and warmer. High peaks may glow in shades of gold, pink, or orange as the final rays of sunlight touch the summit. This glowing effect is sometimes called alpenglow. It occurs when the sun is low in the sky, and its light reflects off the surfaces of mountains. For a few brief minutes, peaks may appear to shine with a gentle, warm color before fading into twilight. As darkness gradually arrives, temperatures in mountain regions often begin to fall. The air becomes cooler and calmer. Wind may quiet down, and the slopes take on a peaceful stillness. Night in the mountains can reveal a remarkable view of the sky. Because many mountain regions are far from large cities, the night sky often appears especially clear and bright. Stars fill the darkness above the ridges and valleys. The Milky Way may stretch across the sky as a faint band of light formed by countless distant stars. Planets sometimes appear as steady, bright points above the horizon. Shooting stars may briefly flash across the sky before disappearing into the darkness. For travelers camping in mountain regions, these quiet nights can feel especially memorable. The only sounds may be the distant flow of a stream, the soft movement of wind across grass, or the occasional call of a nocturnal animal. Morning eventually returns as the first faint light appears in the east. The stars slowly fade, while the outlines of peaks and ridges become visible once again. A new day begins across the mountain landscape. Many people return to mountains again and again because of the calm and perspective these places provide. Walking along a quiet trail, sitting beside an alpine lake, or simply watching clouds drift across distant peaks can bring a sense of peace. The steady presence of mountains reminds us that nature moves according to its own rhythms. Rivers flow, seasons change, and sunlight travels across the slopes day after day. Although human lives are brief compared to the age of mountains, the experience of standing among these landscapes can leave lasting memories. Generations of travelers, explorers, and local communities have looked up at the same peaks and followed the same mountain paths. The mountains quietly connect these experiences across time. Even when clouds gather around the summits or mist fills the valleys, the mountains remain steady beneath the changing sky. And in the quiet moments between sunrise and sunset, between wind and stillness, the mountains continue to offer a place where the vast landscapes of the earth can be seen and appreciated in peaceful silence.